Hey everybody, this is Sabrina. Welcome back to my channel. So this will be the last December daily process video. I think I will wait on the walkthrough to do that a little bit later on this year, maybe closer to when the new December daily products come out. I don't know. I haven't decided yet, and I would love your input if you'd want to give it. For this video, I'm doing the rest of the days, so 26 through 31, so that's why this video will be a little bit longer. I put together day 26, or what I thought was 26, the day that I went to the movies with my daughter, and it was not the 26th, it was the 27th. So I went back and looked at my photos for the 26th and decided that I didn't really have a photo that worked for the 26th. But what I did have was a photo that I think I put on Instagram as a reel or part of my stories. And so I decided to document making during December daily. I had already done something similar on the 22nd, and I don't know if I did it any earlier, but I do like in December daily at least once to talk about what I'm making and how much time I dedicate to this project. So it's nice to have it twice in this album. I took this photo that is more at the 9:16 ratio and printed it out, and then I took a digital paper and printed that out as well, a green paper, and grabbed this red pattern paper and just punched a few holes, not holes, a few circles, and then it could be a triangle shape to have that visual interest and help your eye move along the page. I also used the make acetate word, and I went ahead and stapled that onto the page. And with the numbers, I just used the 26 with the puffy numbers that I have, and then used some asterisks that I had in my stash just to kind of keep it simple, and also stamped the phrase yes. Now, I knew that I was going to do 3 bullet points of journaling, and the Make Story Kit has numbers on it, and oh my goodness, they are microscopic. So what I decided to do is to switch out that number stamp set and use the one that I've been using, the alpha and number one, and go ahead and use that to write out my list. In the first one, I said that this is my favorite project of the year, and it's a perfect way to kind of slow down and document the stories. I always feel like that December daily kind of gives me that permission to slow down and take a moment to document what's happening despite the busyness. And then I said in the second one, this project completely takes over my space and it makes the most festive mess. It really does. And I'm still kind of, I think, at the point right now, where I can say that December daily is finally put away and I'm moving towards reorganizing things. Now, the third one I said this is my 14th year, and I continue to enjoy putting together these albums, and it just brings me so much joy to put these together, and I look forward to each December. So now that page is done, I can put it in the album. It goes right behind 25, and as you could see, I had already done what I thought was 26, so that's why I had to go back. But it's a beautiful page about making and just little stories about crafting in December, and I love it. It looks great. All right, so moving on to 27, which, you're going to see me do 26, but that's okay. I had a kind of grainy photo of my daughter and I at the movies, and I just turned it black and white to make it easier. I also wanted to use the card 1, 2, 3. I love blue and green. Again, I'm trying to use more blue in December daily, and I definitely can say now that I'm at the last process video that I did. I used a bunch of blue and a bunch of different stories, and good job to me. So that was definitely a goal of mine, and I did it. I grabbed the perforated strip sheet and I picked off a few that I wanted to use, and I went with Feel the Love, because we went to see Mufasa, and I feel like Feel the Love was a song from the animated Lion King. I feel like. So I thought that that would go well. And then above the journaling card, I'm going to put documenting the season. I also punched a circle, a 1.5-inch circle to hold my number using the blue puffy stickers. And then I'll jot down 3 little quick stories, not necessarily all about the movie, but just about what's going on during this particular day. And again, switching the pens. I have the 2 different pens. Loved doing that throughout the entire album. That was a lot of fun. So I just said that I'm making sure to get lots of fresh air this break, and it really does wonders for all of us. And the second one, I said that my daughter got to go to her friend's house and play with their Nintendo Switches, which they all loved, and they got to play Pokemon together. And when my daughter got home, we went to go see the Mufasa movie. We'd been waiting so long to see it, especially my daughter. I was like, well, I don't know about it. I don't know. But once I saw it, it was a fabulous movie, and I really loved it. It was so good, and the music is just fantastic. So it was so nice to be able to get out and go to a movie, just the 2 of us, and have that time together. And then that's it for the page. I'm just going to put it in a pocket page and call it done. And sometimes it just needs to be simple, and I love that. I love how December Daily can just be a mix and variety of lots of different sizes and configurations. It's really anything goes, and I love that. So put it in the album. I don't know if I fixed the date on camera. I don't know if I did, because at this point I hadn't realized that, wait a second, what's going to go on the left-hand side? But now we're going to move on to the 28th. And this day turned out so, so pretty. I have a picture of, I think it's Toyon. Is that correct? That's what my phone tells me that plant is, but it's a type of holly, and it blooms a lot in our area around this time. And it really helped to kind of solidify the color scheme that I was going to go with, a really nice red. And I also wanted to use these acetate pieces that were tags, but I just quickly decided that I'm not going to use black, because the one that I pulled that was black, the symbol is misspelled, and I had never noticed that. So I'm just going to go with kind of a gold, brown, red kind of color scheme, and just use these tags in a different way, because why not? I used 1 for the journaling card, and then 2 on the 3x4 cards, and just a little slice of each of them for the 3x4 cards. Also used another acetate word, savor, and just stapled that on our selfie that we got when we went up a walking path, because that's what we did on the 28th. We found a park that was great for my son to play soccer, and then my husband and my daughter, we could all go on a hike, and my daughter was on a scooter, and it was a paved path. It was great. It worked out for everybody, and that's one of the great things about living in my area, is lots of biking trails and hiking trails. So it was a great winter walk, and I got a lot of great photos, and I love when everybody cooperates. Let's put it that way. Everybody cooperates, and we all have a wonderful time doing what we want to do, and it's just great. We wound up walking, I think, almost 2 miles. I'm not sure, but I'm going to journal about it on the Finding Joy card, and I'm actually going to journal so much that I will need to go over to the back side. So you can see I took the acetate tags and just put a little piece of it up at the top where you can see the path, and then down at the bottom, the leaves. Me being a total nature person, I was really fascinated with how the leaves used to be beautiful and crunchy in the fall, and now in the winter, they're kind of a wet, soupy, not soupy, but wet blanket on the ground. It's very interesting. So I drew my journaling lines, and I just talked about how we are continuing to try to get outside, and like I said, we found this great park where everybody would be happy doing their own activities, and it was nice to just talk about a variety of different topics with my husband as my daughter rode on her scooter. And as always, my husband was the wildlife spotter. I don't know how he does it, but he is always spotting wildlife. He actually found an interesting hawk that we had never seen before. It was white and gray. We'd never seen that in January. So we were trying to figure out what kind of hawk that would be. And I don't think we figured it out, but it's very cool. And he spotted a bunch of other things too, but he just has like, what do they call? Eagle eyes. So I flipped it over on the back and added some more journaling so that way I could wrap it up. Then I'll put it in the pocket page, and that is it for 28. I think it's so, so pretty. I love it. And I'm going to move on to the second story of the 28th when I had my gift exchange with my dear friend Erica. So that is the 28th. On the back will be the gift exchange. And it's interesting how I eventually, make this page because you don't see any photos once I finish making this page, which is interesting. So I have a bunch of green, different color schemes of green, different shades and hues. I think that's the word I'm looking for, of green. And I pull out my die cut box and I see a giant present die cut that I cut on my Cameo. And I decided that would make a great piece for a journaling card because I am going to make a journaling card on vellum. And then I will make another one on paper for my title that's going to be gift exchange. And I take these leftover presents and I go ahead and fussy cut those out. And I'm just going to make a layered present card. And I love how it turned out. It turned out fantastic. Exactly what I was thinking. I also had that 3x4 card, share, give, love. And that's kind of where I was going with my color scheme. But in the end, I decided to not go with that journaling card. And you're going to see me take that off in a little bit. But I felt like, I don't know what I was thinking, but I felt like that card had too much going on in it and it kind of pulled away from my overall story maybe. I don't know. That was my thinking initially, but in the end, I probably could have kept that card. So I'm layering in the presents. I have the big one in the back, of course, and then I have the other one. And just to give it a little bit of dimension, I added a puffy sticker present down at the bottom. And I have a chipboard that says this conversation has my heart. And this conversation with my friend and I definitely has my heart. We are two very busy women and we have a lot to juggle. So it's really nice when we can make time to talk to each other on the phone. So I did a white piece of paper, like I said, and then at the bottom I did the no peeking with a puffy sticker, grabbed the alpha stamp and 2 different colors of green ink, and I'm going to stamp gift exchange. And of course I'll have to hyphenate the word exchange because that's not gonna fit on there, and that's okay. The flip up will be so I can include the screenshots that my friend and I took of each other. We couldn't figure out how to get one of both of us. So I took a screenshot and she took a screenshot. And so we shared it with each other. So we both have big pictures of each other on the phone call that we had of our gift exchange. And of course it was a lot of fun to be able to do that because my friend, her birthday is like right after Christmas, so I just wanted to make sure she was well taken care of and knows that she's loved by me. But I have the little flip up and then I'm going to put it in the back of the page protector, and now I'm just talking about how we had this gift exchange. This was the second year that we did this. I also included like what we got each other. Erica was amazing and got me a bunch of books that I can enjoy, and even a bag that's, for teaching assistants, and it's just so awesome. And I got Erica a bunch of books as well, plus a book stand that she can use so she can eat and talk and do whatever she wants with no hands while she's reading. I love my book stand and I cannot recommend it enough. It is the best, and I always use it when I'm eating because I just love it. Unless it's family dinner, then I don't use it. I added a little more writing on the back, and I will wrap up this page and it will be done. And again, it's just so fun to put together these pages and compile all these different stories. I probably should have figured out some sort of like way I could have done a tab in this pocket page so that way you know that you have to pull it out, but that's okay. I did a teeny tiny arrow at the bottom, so hopefully that indicates that you can pull out the card and get some more information if you want to. You can see I have pulled out that word card and just went with a plain black December memories card and just, did my best to not overthink it. Added in the 3x4 flip up pocket so that way I could include both of our photos, and it looks so good. It looks so awesome. I love it. And now I'm going to move on to the 29th, and I actually noticed on the 29th that I didn't really take any photos. All we really did was putter around the house, and I've had this die cut floating around in my box forever. So I decided, you know what, let's just use it. No photos, no journaling, let's just use it. Grabbed a transparency and then put the die cut along with the die cut of a house and 29 and some stars. And that is it. And I'm obsessed with how this turned out. It turned out fantastic. I don't even think I had a lot of journaling in my actual Hobonichi journal. So just talking about puttering around the house was just perfect because that's really all we did. And I don't think every single day has to have something complicated or a story or a photo even. It can just be as simple as a few die cuts. And I finally got to use this beautiful transparency. So it all worked out in my opinion. I love it. And then I had the white 29. I thought I would do black, but I'm really glad that I went with white because I had those white chipboard stars that I kind of wanted to sprinkle around the page. And that way it adds to the overall movement. I even put a star in place of the I in the word puttering. So that worked out fantastic. I love how this came out. Because I was almost like, what am I going to put here? I have no idea. I have nothing to put. But I wound up coming up with this and I love it. Because this, like I said, that die cut's been in my little stash forever. And that's why I always say having a box of die cuts is such a great way to help make December daily work. All right, so that is part 2 for 28 and then 29. And now we're going to do snow day, which was the 30th. And I went all out with the different trees in my digital stash. You can see I'm spreading out all the different pieces that I've pulled and also the ones that I have cut. I will also say that what I really intended to do was actually get a full page of vellum and then use the flip pocket on top of that vellum sheet. And that way I wasn't putting anything on the actual large photo, but I didn't do that. I kind of messed it up. And of course I could always go back and, take it apart if I really, really wanted to. But like I always tell you guys, and I tell myself, like, let's not make this take more time than necessary. But really wish I had done it that way. But I did want to make a title. So I die cut Snow Day, and I think that was just using a font that I had on my computer, plus some really old numbers. They don't even have adhesive on them. You can see I'm adding some right now with the glue pen. And I will put all of that on a 3x4 piece of vellum. So that way the title card, you can kind of see through to the photo behind it. Now, the reason that I really should have had everything on a vellum is because I had 3 photos that I wanted to include in the flip up, and I can't do it with the configuration that I have right now because the last photo, which was my husband and I, would have to go on the snow photo, and I really didn't want to do that. I wanted to be able to see the whole snow photo, if that makes sense. So what I did is I put my title in there, then I put my daughter's photo, and then I was like, okay, I don't like that, so why don't I put it in the back, and then my son's photo would be on top of the snow background. I didn't want that. I just said I didn't want any photos on the snow background. So what I decided to do is my daughter's photo and then my son's, flip it up and you see the rest of the snow background. And I'll take the vellum and just attach that right to the top of the flip up pocket. So that way I can utilize the two, the pocket that I have, but not have to interfere with the vellum not being as see-through-ish, if all of that makes sense. It felt like I made things a little bit complicated, but I had a lot of fun designing this. I actually designed this page, I think, on the 31st because I just loved all the photos I got, and I had a really cool idea with using all the different trees. I love trees, so I figured this is going to be so much fun, and it was a ton of fun to design and also bring together. And I got some hilarious family photos, mainly because of my daughter, who did not want photos taken. We are definitely in that preteen sort of phase. She had a grumpy face with one of the photos. Well, kind of a serious face. It's the top photo. You know, we're looking all smiley, and she's looking kind of serious. And so then we decide to copy her face in the bottom photo, and it's hilarious. So now it's kind of like we're not necessarily making fun of her. We're just joining in on her seriousness and not wanting to take photos because mom takes too many. Over on the left-hand side, I have a grid of 3x2 and 2x2 photos, and I staggered the top row and the bottom row so that way I could include some trees. It's a little different, than I normally do, but I figured it's another way to get in more trees that I die cut, so I went ahead and I did it. And I'm also going to add trees down at the bottom and the far right corner on the right-hand side. So I have this craft looking tree. I'm going to put most of it on the left hand side and then trim the piece that's going to go onto the right. And most of it you won't see because I am going to add another tree right on top of it just so you can have kind of that layered effect. And I just love it. I think I've done tree pages before. I know I did a prep page with a forest of trees, but I never wound up using it. I thought about using it for this particular page, but I had so many different photos and I didn't know how I would configure everything together. So this worked better, but I really need to use that prep page, and I love die cutting these trees. It was so fun. So I had to fix the bottom row. I had to scoot over that photo so that way I could put in the trees on the left-hand side of the photo. I got just a mixture of, the kids sledding, my son sledding, a snowman that I found, my daughter and I, and then my son and I, and then my daughter working on her own snowman. So really the only photo that I wasn't able to fit into this project was the one of just my husband and I. But like I said earlier, that was going to be on the flip pocket, but that's okay. I always try when I have like big events like this, Christmas or snow day, I try to get a highlight photo from like each of the different bullet points of what happened, if that makes sense. And that's what I did in the collage. It's just don't have one of my husband and I. But that's okay. So on the far right, you can see I put a really giant tree. The tree is taller than like 5 inches because I wanted to make sure it touched the second 4x6, or at least was that height. So that way I had different heights on the different trees, the one that's going to be in the middle and then the one that's on the right. I also have another tree that I pop dotted, and then I hid a tree underneath the pop dotted tree. I wasn't sure if that would look okay or not, but I went ahead and did it. I also hid a puffy sticker tree on the far right and added one on the left-hand side, and just made a different variety of trees as I'm putting this together. And now it is ready for the album. It looks fantastic. I absolutely love it. This was so much fun to put together, and just to be able to have a snow day together because we weren't sure if we were going to go to the snow, but I'm so glad that we did. It was a blast to be able to visit the snow, and I've got that flip up pocket and you can see the beautiful trees and then lots more photos of our adventure. And the final spread will be the 31st. Allie Edwards had a freebie in the prep day that said, "Thanks for everything 2024." And it was like she put it on vellum to kind of recap each of the months in the year. I thought about doing that same thing, but then decided I really wanted to have the months, and I just didn't want to deal with printing on vellum. I don't know. just didn't want to deal with it. So I decided to use pieces of paper and die cut my photos using the Cameo. I think each of these photos was a little less than 2x2, so it was like 1.75, I want to say. And I tried my best to edit down, this whole process, because I know it can kind of be monotonous because it's kind of the same thing over and over again, but it was really fun to kind of pick one photo for each month. And in some of the months I did pick 2 photos. I think there's a total of 3 or 4 months that have double photos, and I will explain those as we get there. But I tested out January, absolutely loved it, and picked the photo of us going to the zoo. And so you flip it up and I have just a little note about going to the zoo. And then I realized that because I cut my papers 2x2, they're a little bit too big. So I took one of the photos and used that kind of as my template to trim off everything that I didn't need. And I just had to repeat that for a total of 11 times. And then I can start to go ahead and stamp the different months. First, I wanted to line up my photos because I wound up printing on multiple sheets, I think. I don't know why, but I did. And I kept having to come back to this project because I kept getting interrupted. So that's why my desk looks a little different, but I am back at my desk working on it, and I am getting ready to stamp all the months. So I start off with February, obviously, and eventually I realized that, some of the months are going to have the same letters, so why don't I just stamp some of those as I go? So like with March, I realized that May is going to have pretty much the same letters, so let me grab another one for May, and I also grabbed one for April because April starts with an A, right? And then I'll just continue this process all the way through, December. And I'm pretty much obsessed with how this turned out. It looks fantastic. I think it's a really great way to wrap up the year. And even if I didn't want to do something so fancy, quote unquote fancy, because it's interactive, it requires cutting with the Cameo, it requires a lot of stamping, I could even do a 2x2 page protector and print out the different titles using Canva or using my computer. But I love the idea of doing a recap. I'm now on June, and you can see I even stamped an N for November because I was getting the hang of this, like realizing which months have which letters, and I could get ahead with all the stamping. I'm also trying to be very careful with grabbing these pieces of paper because my hands are becoming covered in ink as I'm stamping. I don't know how, but I am very much a messy stamper with my hands. Maybe it's the type of rag that I'm using and it just gets on my fingers. I don't know. I'd love to know in the comment section how it works for you guys if you're messy stampers, but I am. I had to go wash my hands after I got done stamping so that way I wouldn't smudge anything. So in February, I picked the photo of my daughter as Margaret Elaine Hamilton, the NASA engineer for Wax Museum. My son is going to be for March because he started track and field for his high school. And then in April, I have 2 photos, and I actually made an exception because Easter was right at the end of March, and I was like, whatever, I'm just going to put it in April. Nobody's going to know. It's fine. And then I put a photo from Week in the Life and trimmed that really, really short. And so that way I could put a tiny little caption up at the top that says documenting Week in the Life and Easter. So that's how I'm going to do all the extra photos that I have. That way I can still write a little note on each of the papers. And the next one's going to be May, which is when I went to Washington to see my friend. I forgot to add in about Easter, so I'm going to go ahead and add that in. Makes me happy that I tend to write small, I guess, because I did have to write pretty small to write some of these. I may have already mentioned this, but it was so fun to look back on all the photos, and I will admit I probably spent way too much time in my camera roll reminiscing about the entire year and trying to hem and haw over which photos am I going to pick to represent the month. So for June, I have our trip to see the redwoods, a photo of looking up at the redwoods, and then a fun family photo where I did the 0.5 zoom. July is, of course, 4th of July, but we have a tradition of photos on my in-laws' porch. So I had to include that. In August, we went on an epic road trip to Idaho. It was our first multi-state road trip, and we had the best time. I got a photo of my husband and I, but peeking behind us is our son, and he has like a stinker face on, or serious face. It's hilarious. And then I have a kind of old railroad track for the photo as well. September is going to be my son playing soccer for comp team. October, we flew to Missouri to surprise my mom for her birthday, her 60th birthday, and it was an incredible surprise. So I, of course, have 2 photos for that, and then I jot down a little note. But yes, my mother had no idea we were coming to Missouri, none whatsoever. I think I talk about this in my October daily process video where I documented our trip to Missouri, and it was so awesome. November is going to be the Thanksgiving family photo. I thought about doing the family table spread, but I don't know. I don't know how I feel about food pictures. I don't know. Sometimes I like them, sometimes I don't. For Christmas, I just decided to do the Christmas Eve nighttime photo that I always get. Keep it really simple and not overthink it, since most of the photos are already documented in this album, so I don't need to overcomplicate things. And now I'm going to move on to adding the 24. I did make a filler page on the left-hand side with some scraps and a acetate piece that says remember, but I decided not to include that in this video. I just didn't think it was important. Added the 24 so that way it would represent 2024, and then I'm just going to use the Remember Story Kit stamp to stamp a few things, memories up at the top, and then highlights what I'm thankful for this year. And both of those did not stamp so great, which was a bummer, but I was not going to go back and re-stamp them. I also did some of the I want to say Starburst in red, and I like how it turned out, simple and to the point. And now the piece of the 4 hangs over, but it'll be able to bend so that way you can see the back of it. The back of it is just going to be the 31st, keeping it, again, very simple. I could have done a filler page or I don't know what on this, but this is the way, this is where it landed, the back page for 31st. So I wasn't going to try to not do the 31st on this page or create a double page spread for New Year's Eve. I'm just going to put it on what I have, and it's 2 3x4 horizontal photos of the evening, and at the bottom I'll have a black patterned paper. I decided to go with this one with the stars, and it'll just, like I said, be at the bottom a little strip, because of course I love going with kind of black and gold or black and sparkly something. So I always tend to go with that for New Year's Eve. And then I'm just going to stamp and add a few embellishments, and that'll be it. No journaling. Again, I feel like it's pretty self-explanatory. New Year's Eve. It was fun to have our son finally stay up with us at midnight. We've told him for years that he can stay up. We don't have a problem if he stays up, but he's never been a kid and now a teen that wanted to stay up. I don't know. It's so weird because any other time he wants to stay up all night, but on New Year's Eve he never did. This year he did, and we got to have some apple cider all together and cheers together, and it was so fun to have him with us, staying up till midnight. And I got the kids, I had them take a photo forcefully, please just let me get a photo. Out of all the 10, this was my favorite photo that I got of them. So I just kind of tilted the photos, the kids on the left and then us at the bottom onto the right, just tilted it just to add a little bit of, dimension or movement. So that way they're not just straight on there. Also looked at my stash and I found some gold sparkly asterisks or stars that will work perfect with the number 31 that I had picked out. I'm going to use this stamp set again since I've used it throughout the album to stamp out New Year's Eve, and this will wrap up my album. I am so happy to have this album all wrapped up very early in the year, because I think I mentioned last year was mid-February or late February. So it's very nice to have it all wrapped up and to be able to share all the process videos with you. I think this is the first year in maybe 3 years that I've shared all process videos, because I always feel like I run out of time or nobody watches them, the views go down. But I decided this year, no matter what, I'm sharing all the process videos. So I appreciate you taking the time to watch all the way through and listen to all my commentary on the different pages that I'm putting together. So I stamped a few black stars, added in those gold asterisks, and now I'm going to glue it to the back of the 31st and close the album and be done. And that is it. I just love this project. It's such a special project, and I'm excited to, like I said, share a walkthrough later this year. So, oh, this is such a special project. I'd love to know in the comment section where you guys are at with your albums and how that is going. But again, so appreciate you taking the time to watch my videos and see how my pages come together and listen to me talk about my pages, because I love walking you guys through the process. So I'd love a thumbs up, or if you're new to my channel, a subscribe. So thanks again for watching, and that's a look at 2024 and closing my album. This felt like the right thing to do, and I love this project, and thanks again for watching. I hope you have a great day. Bye.